Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
And I am Tony DeQuano.
So, Tony, this time we're going to do quite possibly the greatest Batman movie ever made. Coming straight out of Batman the Animated Series, we've got Batman Mask of the Phantasm, a continuation of the series, or rather a branch off of the series that is officially a part of Batman the Animated Series. Starring, of course, Kevin Conroy as Batman, the best Batman there ever was. And Mark Hamill's Joker, the best Joker there ever was. I'm sorry, all you Heath Ledger fans out there. Heath Ledger was a fantastic Batman, or fantastic Joker. Don't get me wrong. He was a fantastic Joker. But to me, Joker will always be Mark Hamill. Just like Batman will always be Kevin Conroy.
And if Jared Leto is your favorite, then you can just stop listening right now.
I second that. Oh, yeah. But hey, we welcome the Cesar Romero heads.
Yeah, I fully will endorse you. That's fine. Endorse. Maybe endorse, but I fully can understand that and get behind it because this is iconic, and he's the first out there, and that's what you cut your teeth on back when you're 8 years old in the late '60s. More power to you.
Yep, the man who refused to shave his mustache to play the Joker, so he just painted over it.
I think and that's funny. The thing, obviously, it was Adam West. He's iconic in his own way, but I don't know. I think it's Cesar Romero and Burgess Meredith that just kind of stick out to me from the '60s.
Yep.
They're iconic in their own way, and they really helped define as Batman villains at that time.
But yeah, Kevin Conroy, though, hands down my absolute favorite Batman, and many people's favorite Batman.
Yep.
When I read Batman comics, his voice is the one that I hear in my head.
Right. Yeah. No. And I think, part of that could be, I think, in some ways, because the aesthetic to the animated series really kind of fits how I view what Gotham City should look like. Right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's got that noir look, but also kind of modern, but still kind of like 20s and 30s. And it's just a great amalgamation of so many things, and it works.
Absolutely. And, so I could fully understand how that's what you're kind of growing up with. That's kind of where, I read any Batman comic now, I hear Kevin Conroy as Batman or as Bruce Wayne, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Kevin Conroy, he made Batman and Bruce Wayne two completely different characters.
Yes.
They had different voices. And what I loved about it was he made basically Bruce Wayne's actual voice was more or less Batman's voice. And the Bruce Wayne voice was a fake voice that he did. Yep. I mean, Batman's voice at times was a little bit gruffer than his actual voice, but yeah, the Bruce Wayne voice was, he raised the pitch a little bit. So it was clearly Batman disguising his voice to be Bruce Wayne.
I always think the other way around. The tricky thing when you get into the Batman portrayals, and I'm not going to really take a dig at any of them. I'm not going to mention Batman and Robin. So just say nipples. And anyway, but
although there were bat nipples in Batman Forever also.
Yes.
They're just more prominent in Batman and Robin.
Yeah, there's always how to strike that balance of Batman and Bruce Wayne, how they pull the two together. And, there's plenty of debate about, so-and-so was a better Batman, so-and-so was a better Bruce Wayne. Who's the best as a whole?
Yeah, and Kevin Conroy nailed it. He nailed Batman, he nailed Bruce Wayne.
I think, he was coming in at a time, too, where I think voice work within animation was getting more respect as an actual craft, right? Because you think about Robin Williams being Genie around that same time. And how much acclaim he was able to get for that. And then it was kind of at the same time as, this new golden era for the Disney animation. When you look at Little Mermaid and Lion King and Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, as you're saying with Robin Williams. So, he came at the right time. He was able to pull it off really well and sell it and really get the appreciation for it. Maybe it took it was obviously favorite of a certain segment for a long time. And I think now, as we've gotten older, it's helped rise more of that to prominence as being the best Batman. To actually put it in that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, not only is Batman the animated series my favorite version of Batman, but it's also my all-time favorite TV show.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, ever since it came out in 1992, I watched it every day after school. And in 93, when Mask of the Phantasm came out, it was monumental because it came out in the theater. It wasn't just a straight-to-video release. They released a movie that was part of a cartoon that was, on after school. They released it in the movie theater.
Yeah, that was bold. Like, my understanding is, like, originally they thought maybe they would do it when they first started conceiving it, that they were going to maybe do it direct to video, and it's like, you know what? No, we're going to go ahead. It's going to be a theatrical release.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, folks, we will be talking about the entire movie, beginning, middle, end. So spoiler alert, if you have not watched it, then you don't want to be spoiled, then please pause the podcast, go watch it, come back and continue listening, unless you're a fan of Jared Leto as Joker. But if you don't mind spoilers, then keep on listening. And okay, fine. Jared Leto fans can come in and listen too.
That's
I mean, I don't dislike Jared Leto and everything. It's just I didn't think he was a very good Joker.
He was a good Joker. Yeah, I like 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah.
One day, maybe we might do Requiem for a Dream when we want to get really depressed.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I was just looking at this. So yeah, Mask of the Phantasm opened on Christmas Day, 1993.
That's right. It was Christmas Day, wasn't it?
Interesting.
Yeah. So before we get really into the meat of the movie, a few years ago, I had the privilege, the honor of meeting Kevin Conroy at Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City.
Okay.
And he was a cool dude. He was really, really cool dude. We chatted for a minute or two about how great Batman, the animated series, was. Got his autograph, got my picture with him, all that stuff. But I walked away from there kicking myself because I didn't tell him what I wanted to tell him. And that, all my life I've been, wanting to do voice work, voice acting, stuff like that.
Yep.
And watching Batman after school every day, hearing Kevin Conroy do Batman and Bruce Wayne as completely different people and all that. I mean, I was in second grade when the show came out.
Yeah.
And I noticed it then, and it was because of him that my desire to get into to voice work really started. Yeah. So I was kicking myself after meeting him because I didn't tell him that. Yeah. I wanted to go back up there and thank him for igniting this fire in me to do stuff with my voice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so if any of Kevin Conroy's family or friends happen to be listening to this, I just want you all to know how much I appreciate what he did and how big of an impact that he had in my life.
It's good to see, hear different stories. There's a pal. Just kind of in almost innocuous ways. Yeah. Just people influence others.
I mean, really, if it wasn't for Kevin Conroy, this podcast wouldn't exist. So thank you to, and I wish I could thank Kevin Conroy himself, but sadly he passed away not too long ago. Yeah. But yeah, so thank you to Kevin Conroy and to all of his family and friends who may be listening to this right now. There aren't many celebrities, many people in the entertainment industry that have really affected me the way that Kevin Conroy has. It had that big of an impact on my life.
Yeah, no, I mean, people inspired the acting, the singing, a variety of different things. So, do you know he was in an episode of Matlock?
I think I heard that somewhere.
Yeah. He did a bunch of TV stuff in the 80s, then before he kind of got the voice work.
Then he finally got his live-action Batman debut in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. Yeah,
I am so behind on the specials. I finished that, and I have not gotten back into it. It's all COVID messed a lot of things up in terms of some of that. I liked seeing all the different Batman references and Supermans. They actually pulled all that off really well. I was kind of impressed. I enjoy a lot of CW stuff. But, the production rate's not always as high, but they pulled that off.
No, I mean, it's a TV show, so they have a certain budget they got to stick to.
Yeah.
I mean, CW shows don't typically have a movie budget.
Nope.
It's not Disney Plus.
Sometimes they really scraping the bottom of the barrel for their guest actors.
Yep. Smallville, we're looking at you. Fantastic show, though. I love Smallville.
We love some Smallville. We're not talking about Superman.
We're not talking about Superman right now. But yes, Smallville is one of my favorite shows. So yes, it had some really bad guest stars, but part of that adds to the charm of it, though.
It is, yes.
But back to Batman. So interesting thing about the animated series, I don't know if they were still doing it at the time that Mask of Phantasm came out, but I know for at least the first while on the show, they had certain rules that they had to follow. Like Batman could never appear during the day. Yeah. You know, Batman is always at night and stuff like that. But in order to get the look that they wanted, that dark, gritty, noirish look, yeah, they actually, for the first, I think, couple of seasons of the show, they actually used black paper.
Interesting.
And drew everything on that, rather than using white paper and coloring it black. I think as animation techniques improved as the show went on, they switched from black paper. But I know for a fact that at least for the beginning of the show, and quite possibly while it was still, because Mask of the Phantasm came out a year after the show started. It came out in 93, so they may have still been using the black paper for that.
The look is so spot on. Like I was saying, like it just fits kind of the mood I want Batman. We talk about, it does a good job blending things, and I respect what Tim Burton's Batman, his Gotham, so to speak. And we'll get into that because we'll definitely do Tim Burton's Batman.
Oh yeah,
it is well worth.
Yes,
and it's funny how it's actually funny how that one's now being re-looked at again. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, especially with Michael Keaton being in the new Flash movie.
Yeah, I think he's getting another look again, which is good. I liked his own interpretation on Batman.
Yeah.
Praising Kevin Conroy does not mean that we're not dissing, again, any of the other Batman.
Yes, exactly. Every Batman has their own merits. They all did well in their own way. But, I mean, just like any character that has multiple actors playing them, everybody's going to rank them.
They rank them.
Yeah. Everybody's going to have their own ranking of who they thought did the best.
And, and same with, just the movies themselves. I liked how they were able to switch in and make it a longer TV episode.
Exactly. Yeah.
Movie.
Yeah. It was essentially.
It fits perfectly within it.
Yeah. It was essentially 3 episodes.
I would say it's like a 3-part episode.
Yeah. It completely fit the feel of the show because it was a part of the show. It wasn't like one of those ones where it's a movie spin-off of the show that doesn't actually connect to the show at all. It's actually a part of the show. So if you're going through, if you're going through and watching the entire series, you have to watch the movie.
Yeah.
You have to watch it as part of it because it is part of the show.
What I like about it as kind of like, if you think about it, again, because it is like a 3-part episode, you could just kind of weigh how some TV shows are done today. Like, oh yeah, it's just 3-part event, right?
Yeah.
Which could make sense because they do big events in comics. But I like that, oh yeah, it's not one of the main villains. I mean, one of them comes in, but I like how they're able to.
But he doesn't come until later.
Yeah.
He doesn't come until later in the movie. It's over halfway
through the movie until Joker comes in.
Yeah, I mean
and even at that, obviously he's fully the Joker, but he's still not the main antagonist, which is great.
And we see, normally I'm not a fan of Joker origin stories because Joker's not supposed to have a defined origin.
Right. No, I'm completely.
But this movie, I mean, it shows just a little bit of who he was before he was Joker.
Right.
At least in this world, in the Batman the animated series world, but it doesn't show how he became Joker. It doesn't, anything like that. But it shows his life before the Joker.
Yeah. No, I was thinking the same thing.
I like the way that they did it because it reveals just enough, but it doesn't take it overboard. Yeah,
it alludes to it in somewhat. Obviously Tim Burton's Batman very heavily goes into it.
Yes,
but it kind of sticks in a little bit with some of the comic stories, but just in very vague ways to still allow the mystery of connecting the dots on it. So I like how they kind of, weave within that too, because you kind of have within the aspects where you're still kind of getting, oh yeah, you're seeing the Joker, but it's really prior to him really becoming the Joker. You're still seeing scenes of Bruce as Batman really before he's Batman.
Yeah. Yeah, you see what happened that made him become Batman and not just some vigilante.
Yes.
Because, we all know Batman's origin story. His parents were killed out in the alley behind the theater in Crime Alley. And, they were killed right in front of him. And he vowed right then to never let that happen again. So he trained for his whole life to become Batman. But yeah, the movie, Mask of the Phantasm, it includes several flashbacks to the beginnings of Batman. Before he was Batman, when he was just a dude who put on just a ski mask, didn't wear a cape, nothing like that. He had a utility belt, but that's about it. Trying to stop criminals, and you kind of see the mistakes that he made in his early days that prompts him to design his suit the way that he does. To add a cape, to make it look like a bat, because people aren't afraid of him when he just jumps out in the ski mask.
Yeah, right.
He needs that theatricality and that ability to instill fear in the criminals so that they're distracted and he can take them down easier. But it introduces some characters that aren't in any of the show otherwise, that aren't in anything that's not this movie. Really, it introduces his true love interest as far as the show goes.
Yep.
Andrea Beaumont.
It's different, and always,
the one that got away.
Bruce Wayne, different than Clark Kent, like that, right? Clark Kent has Lois Lane. But Batman iterations, it's very different.
Yeah. I mean, comics-wise, the closest that Batman's ever, had to a soulmate would probably be Catwoman. There's Talia al Ghul, but that was more of a one-sided relationship for the most part.
Who, by the way, Dana Delaney.
Yes, Dana Delaney voiced
the
Andrea
voice
Beaumont.
for Andrea Beaumont. Who, people that don't know, and actually, she had a bit of success prior. China Beach.
And speaking of Lois Lane, she also voiced Lois Lane in Superman, the animated series.
Yes, that's right. But at the time, she would have been known for China Beach. I don't really know much of. I just knew of the show. But then later, she ended up on Desperate Housewives.
Yeah, she was in Tombstone also.
In Tombstone, yeah. So she was kind of a notable character actress, so to speak, in the 90s. And again, it kind of speaks to what I was speaking earlier of getting more recognized names within kind of some of these cast for animated movies.
Yeah, and I thought it was great. The douchey congressman, Arthur Reeves, played perfectly by Hart Bochner, a.k.a. Ellis from Die Hard. But I thought that was great. as soon as I heard that voice, this is perfect casting for that character. Yeah, then we get the legendary Abe Vigoda.
We forgot about Abe Vigoda. There's also Stacy Keach.
Yes, Stacy Keach also. Stacy Keach as Carl Beaumont and the voice of Phantasm.
The voice for the Phantasm. It's absolutely perfect.
But Abe Vigoda was Sal Valestra, the crime boss. Definitely some amazing talent in this movie. Amazing voice talents all around.
That's not also beginning Bob Hastings as Commissioner Gordon, and his role in this is a little bit less than times within the series, but you got to give him a shout out.
Yeah.
But again, those who maybe had the Batman series from the 60s is their favorite. Might also McHale's Navy, who was a regular in that, 100 some episodes.
Yeah. And of course, Robert Costanzo as Bullock. Bullock, who he also played Joey's dad in Friends.
That's right. I always like the portrayal of Bullock in this series.
Yeah. And we also can't... Yes, me too. Yeah. He's always been one of my favorite characters.
Favorite Batman characters. Yep. Just, it's... I love, and then you get a little bit within the movie. I always love the back and forth between him and Gordon. And
Gordon's always right there by Batman's side. He's backing him up all the time. And Bullock is very skeptical of Batman. He doesn't think that they should be rewarding his vigilantism.
Yeah.
No Batman the Animated Series discussion would be complete without some appreciation for Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. He was amazing as Alfred.
Yep. So many good Alfreds. I feel like any of the Alfreds, they do it so well. Michael Caine, obviously, is someone most people probably know more recently. But he said Ephraim Zimbalist was also very, very good. And he's very prominent within this one. So,
he is
a crucial role. I kind of like. It's a good point because we're talking about how Andrea being the one that got away, and I always like Alfred when you kind of see that really that fatherly side of him.
Yeah,
the Batman.
Yeah, you really see it in the flashbacks in this one. And I love when Bruce proposes to Andrea and then she sends the ring back. And we haven't seen that part of the story yet. So we don't know why she sends it back. But she sends it with a note saying that she had to go to Europe with her dad and she doesn't know when she's going to be back and she can't marry him. That's right after he made the decision to give up on to drop his quest to avenge his parents' death after begging at their grave to give him an out.
Yeah.
And it's just a really powerful scene when he's standing at their grave, begging in the rain, and he doesn't think that he's going to be able to give up on it. And then Andrea's standing right behind him. And he decides right then that he's going to give up this thing that he has dedicated his life to be with the woman that he loves.
Which is all the more reason why it's appropriate now, having seen some of the Joker prior to being a Joker. Like, it's complete, really ties that in well. And, like, even in ways he doesn't understand about why arch nemesis.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so when she sends the ring back, you can see it in the animation. You can hear it in Kevin Conroy's voice, how pained Bruce Wayne is at that point. Because, I mean, not only is he losing the woman that he loves, the woman that he was going to spend the rest of his life with, but he's also realizing that, at least in his mind, he's failed his parents.
Yes.
Because he gave up on his quest so that he could be with this woman that now he can't be with. So that moment, the next scene, right after he gets the ring back, when he's in the newly discovered Batcave, and Alfred walks up, hands him his cowl. And he stands there and looks at it for a second in his hand, and then he puts it on. And you don't see him with it. You don't see him from the front. You just see Alfred's reaction. And you just see this surprise and fear and also pride in Alfred that Bruce finally stepped up and accepted his mission.
Yes.
And, you see him, you still don't see him from the front, but you see him walking, you see his silhouette as he walks toward the door from behind.
Right. I always kind of wonder, when, again, it's hard to talk about, especially I think Batman in particular, about different iterations and how other people portray characters within the series. Like, to use another example within DC, there's been a bunch of Supermans, but Christopher Reeve is the standard.
Yes.
Everyone knows that. Gene Hackman is the standard as Lex Luthor.
Yes, absolutely.
And a bunch of other people have done fine jobs portraying those characters, but they're the standard. And in some ways, you almost don't even try to do the same thing, right? But, when I look at, I think of Michael Caine as Alfred. I haven't looked that deeply into, how much did he kind of did he watch a bunch of animated series that kind of figure, okay, how is Alfred thinking about Bruce Wayne, right? He's caring for Bruce Wayne as his young kid, and then he also cares about Bruce's parents, and they're murdered, right? And all of a sudden, he's like a single dad to this boy that's his charge. There's a lot going on within that, right? And so when you get into those moments like that, because they touch within this, at least with Michael Caine's character, understanding this pride within the name of Wayne, but also within Bruce himself. And so, did he watch a bunch of that to kind of get an idea of, and I guess that's part of the aspect of it. I think certain Batmans, Alfred's there and he shares personal stories, but the script doesn't dive deep into that relationship between the two.
No, it doesn't.
The Nolan Batmans, they do.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, arguably,
and the animated series does it also.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Again, I get, it's week to week, so you can do that, but they play it up a lot within the movie.
Yeah, they do. I mean, with the entire animated series, and especially with Phantasm, Alfred is a true member of the Bat family. The Keaton movies and the Schumacher movies, they pretty much just made him Bruce Wayne's butler.
Yes.
He would go fetch things for him. He would prepare his suit. He would do butlery things. And not much more. I mean, yes, he was a beloved member of Bruce Wayne's extended family.
Yes.
But they didn't really do a whole lot with the character in those movies. But in Phantasm, they absolutely did. They just continued what they had already established of him in the series. And I love that the Dark Knight trilogy really expanded on Alfred also.
Yeah, you get kind of little Alfred backstory, especially like Dark Knight. He's talking about some guys stealing rubies, and we will do Dark Knight. We'll do the entire Nolan trilogy.
Yes, we will eventually.
Eventually.
This is the only Batman movie we're doing at the moment. We aren't going to be doing another one right after this one. We're going to be doing something else after this one. But
big fan of the Nolan trilogy myself.
Yes. Huge.
Big fans of Master of Phantasm. I'm actually a big fan of Tim Burton Batman too, which is completely different. We'll get there. Even the most recent Batman too, Matt Reeves Batman. And there's actually, and you kind of have to bring it up because like it definitely was inspired
by animated series.
This.
If you look, okay, so if you look at the logo for the Batman, for the Matt Reeves one with Robert Pattinson, it is the same color scheme as the animated series.
Yes.
The red on black.
The red, yep.
It's also more or less the same font.
Yeah, and they both lean like I mean, you could tell like they're ripping off of that.
I mean, it's similar. It's maybe not the exact same font, but it's very similar.
Yeah, I had it up earlier.
Especially if you look at, so I've got the Steelbook for the Batman, and I've also got the limited collector's edition of the animated series on Blu-ray. And looking at the spines of those, they look almost identical as far as the writing. Same shade of red on black.
There's the red. Like there are two of them. You also get that Ones and Times where you have him standing on the building, and he's got the lightning strike going on behind him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now Batman Matt Reeves. Let me look at the fonts. Let's see the fonts. I hadn't thought about the font. I thought about the color scheme. That's all images there. Yeah, but this is the red. Yeah, I can see that. And it's funny because, like, again, there's this basic plot because, like, both go really deeply into the detective skills of Bruce Wayne or Batman.
Yeah.
And they're both heavily influenced really within the criminal underground element and corruption.
Yes.
And, I mean, they get into, obviously the Nolan movies actually do that too. I shouldn't say that because Falcone is like a major part.
Yes, but
Batman Begins and Maroni's and
it definitely goes into the organized crime element and just the crime in general element.
Tim Burton movies they have that too.
They do. I mean,
in their own way.
Yeah, it's there in all the movies really.
I mean, I get Penguin's there, but
yeah.
The focus is very different with these two.
Yeah, but even the Nolan Batman movies, though, they focused a little bit on his detective skills, on him being the world's greatest detective, but it didn't show a lot of it. The Dark Knight's probably the one that showed the most of the trilogy.
Dark Knight, especially when he's analyzing the bullets.
Yes, but other than that, it really doesn't show a whole lot of his being the world's greatest detective.
Yeah,
in that whole trilogy.
It's Detective Comics.
Yeah, which is what I absolutely loved about the Matt Reeves Batman, because that movie, it was like his being a detective was in the forefront, and the rest of being Batman was kind of in the back, like behind it. It really focused on on the fact that Batman is the world's greatest detective. And that's what I love about the animated series, because there's the episodes where he just goes around and beats up the bad guys and delivers them to Gotham PD. But there's also tons and tons of episodes that focus on his detective skills. And that's continued in Mask of the Phantasm. It doesn't just show one aspect of Batman. It shows everything. It shows Batman from all angles. It shows his badassness. It shows his heart of gold. It shows him hurting. It shows him suffering, and it shows him winning.
What's crazy about this too is that it dives deep into a lot of that, and it's it's obviously darker. It's got more mature themes, and it's something that's aimed at kids. And it's without going over a line where parents would say "Oh, you shouldn't watch that."
Yeah, it was back when a kid's show could appeal just the same to the parents who were watching it with their kids.
Yeah.
Where like nowadays with a lot of kids shows, they're strictly just for kids and they drive their parents crazy. But yeah, that's back in the day when a kid's cartoon had more adult themes. Yeah. To sort of help prepare the kid for what's coming in life without being too overt about it.
Totally.
Without scaring the kid out of wanting to grow up.
Well, I guess there's a certain aspect of that. I understand people are probably, doing this, probably older Gen Xers that kind of understood some more of that difficulty of broken households. And so, very different. But what I like about it too is, as you say, they're bringing in all these different strands in. Is if you would just show someone Mask of the Phantasm, maybe they've seen the Batman movies, maybe they haven't, right? But they haven't seen the animated series at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could show them this, and they would still be completely engrossed and not be like, oh, what's going on, right? It's basically, it's a movie from a TV show, but you don't need anything else from the TV series to fully appreciate the movie.
Yeah, it can act as a standalone viewing experience.
But, we got into, might as well get into a little bit more to be at the plot.
Yeah. So some mysterious being is going around and killing the heads of the different crime families.
Right,
the different mob bosses.
About that. How it really gets into the organized crime aspect.
Yeah.
And
so
this is we mentioned Stacy Keach. Stacy Keach voices this figure. He does a great job.
Yeah. So Stacy Keach, he voices the Phantasm. It sounds
now. Bruce Wayne is fully Batman when we're seeing these sequences.
Yeah. In the present day,
cut in and out between the flashbacks.
Yeah.
We kind of have the idea of the flashbacks that have happened.
But where the Phantasm shows up, this is the present day. So Batman is in his full battiness. He's been Batman for about 10 years at this point. And
we mentioned earlier that, Gordon is, they have the famous bat signal, obviously. So he's got friends in the police department, but then he's got people like, Baller, like, no, I don't like this guy. He's a vigilante.
So the Phantasm is going around, in the shadows with a little smoke machine, and he's killing these mob bosses. But of course, everybody thinks that it's Batman because it's in the shadows.
He's at the scene. Well, I mean, he's breaking up like a meeting of some of the bosses,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Phantasm shows up right after that.
Yeah, in the parking garage,
and kills the guy, and then he disappears, and people see Batman in there, and they assume Batman's responsible.
When really the only people that know for sure that it's not Batman are the ones that are about to die. And then, they're dead after that, so they can't really tell people that it's not Batman that's killing them. But so we go through there, then we have...
There's we talked about...
that was the first one was Chucky Saul.
Yes.
That was the mob boss Chucky Saul. But then we got Buzz Bronski, one of the other mob bosses, when he goes to the cemetery.
I love that. He goes to the cemetery. That's done so well.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why everything works well, I think, is because it is animated. They can make it work so much better.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know how that scene with Buzz would work as well if it was live action.
Yeah. Because, Buzz is in the...
I think it has to be animated.
He's at Chucky Saul's grave, and Phantasm shows up.
He's got his bodyguards there.
Yeah, he's got his bodyguards there. Phantasm shows up, chases him a little bit, gets Buzz away from his henchmen. And then he falls into an open grave. And as he's trying to claw his way out, all of a sudden the giant tombstone tips over and flattens him. You, of course, don't see it fall on him because it's a kid's show.
Of course.
But he got crushed by that thing. And it's convenient that he was already in a grave.
Very convenient.
Then, once again, his henchmen think that it was Batman. So Bullock, of course, is all over trying to catch Batman, whereas Gordon is giving Batman the benefit of the doubt. There's just especially that cemetery scene is just so well done.
It is.
Because, you don't realize that Buzz fell into a grave until it pans out.
No, you don't. Yeah.
Until it pans out and he stands up and there's dirt all around him, like dirt walls on all four sides of him. And he's trying to claw his way out. But it's too deep and he can't reach the top.
Yeah. It's good stuff. And... and then at this point, like you're saying, the highway guards kind of see the Phantasm, and they just think it's Batman.
Yeah. Because, really, at this point, there's not really anybody else that dresses anywhere similar to Batman and creeps around in the shadows and is actively going after members of the mob. So, it's completely logical that they think it's Batman.
Right. And
they think that he just, broke his no-killing rule.
Yeah, I say, Gordon brings the point, no, Batman doesn't kill. But, you can see someone say, you know what, maybe he snapped. Maybe he decided, you know what, I'm probably going to kill these people.
Yeah. Maybe he turned into Ben Affleck.
Maybe a reasonable assumption.
Yep. That's the thing I didn't like about Batfleck. Batman's not supposed to
he actually
murder people like Batfleck. But
wasn't that bad
No.
as Batman.
No, he wasn't.
But
He wasn't.
Some of the other stuff.
Yeah, he wasn't a terrible Batman. He had his good things about it. He had his merits. And I don't know if it's so much an Affleck thing or if it's a Zack Snyder thing with the whole Batman murdering people left and right. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of the whole murderous Batman in the Snyder movies.
They did some with Superman too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a whole nother discussion.
We're not going to touch.
I mean, the Burton Batman, he killed too. The Burton Batman killed people too, but not as blatantly as.
Not as blatantly. And one of them, he just stepped forward, and the guy just missed him. And he fell through a bell tower.
Yes. I mean, it was that guy's fault.
He should have timed his jump better.
Yes. Should have timed his jump better. Ah! But we'll get to that movie.
If he's not going to time the jump well, he should have, at least decided to land it on a more stable platform.
Yes, we'll discuss more of Bell Tower Man when we talk about the Tim Burton Batman.
Anyway,
because we will be talking about that movie eventually.
And that's the thing. Saying it's always like, Paul Batman won't kill. It's the thing that Gordon comes to. It's like no, it can't be Batman. He doesn't kill. He may hurt you. He's not going to kill you.
No, but yeah. So after these Phantasm sightings, then
especially after the second one with Buzz, like Batman's like investigating. He's being a detective.
Yes.
So these guys are his enemies. He's still trying to figure out who killed them. Yeah. Not because he's concerned that he's going to take the rap for it. But
he's trying to solve the crime.
He's trying to investigate what's going on.
And and so right around this time, then we learn that this woman named Andrea Beaumont is coming to town. We haven't met her yet, but she calls Arthur while she's on the plane flying into town. And shortly thereafter, there's a party at Wayne Manor. There's a big banquet. Mm-hmm. And Bruce is talking to Arthur, and Arthur brings up Andrea. And that kicks off a flashback. And we see how Bruce and Andrea met. Bruce is at his parents' grave, talking to them, and he overhears Andrea at her mother's grave, not too far away. And hears her just talking out loud to her mom, just having a conversation. And Bruce wanders over there and sort of startles her. So then, he apologizes and starts walking away. And then she's like, who that was? That was Bruce Wayne. And that gets him turned back around because she said his name. And then they start a conversation. It's sort of a meet cute in a cemetery.
Yeah. So dead parents.
Yep. So then, it goes on and we see we see Bruce at one of his first vigilante moments where he tries to take down some guys that are robbing. Did they ever actually say what building they were robbing?
No.
But yeah, back when he just wore a ski mask and black clothes, black sweater and a ski mask, and he had some throwing stars, but he wasn't Batman yet. He was still in the early stages of crime fighting, and he barely got out of that scuffle alive. And that's what gave him the idea to instill fear in criminals, because they weren't afraid of him. So they were giving him their all. So he's all bandaged up while he's doing jiu-jitsu in the backyard.
Yeah, I love that.
That is a great scene. And of course, Andrea comes by and throws him on his ass and claims that it's because she took a women's self-defense class. But yeah, then they kind of wrestle a little bit and their relationship grows.
I think he was going to eventually marry her as he cut through some of those scenes. It doesn't happen.
Nope. Their relationship buds to the point where, he's willing to give up his mission to be with her. But
and it's when it doesn't work out. It's when he really assumes the mantle of Batman, We talked about that.
But it turns out her father owes the mob a lot of money.
Right. And, we get into that, the things and it's, it ties into the entire story that we're getting into.
Yeah.
We're dealing with the mob.
Yeah, because part of those flashbacks.
Slowly building in those pieces of what happened.
Yeah, part of those flashbacks are Sal and Chucky and Buzz when they're younger, 10 years earlier.
And Salvatore.
When they aren't old men. Sort of trying to lean on Andrea's dad, on Carl Beaumont, to get him to pay them the money that he owes them.
Right, yeah.
And there's a very somewhat familiar-looking henchman that's part of the group.
Yes. likes his smile.
Sort of the muscle of the group. Yeah.
And we should say that we talked about Arthur Reeves. He is connected in with this as well.
Yes.
Because he's an aspiring politician.
And he was, he was close with Carl Beaumont.
Yeah.
And so, he worked with him, and he thought it would help his political career. So,
he needed money to run a campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So you get yourself with some unsavory characters, so to speak. And again, I think they interweave, they really play those backstories really, really well.
They really do.
They play it perfectly within how the characters are reacting within the present day in the story.
And also, one of the interesting things is, so Andrea Beaumont is one of the few characters that knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Yes. And that's discovered, that's when he's investigating Buzz's.
Yeah, when he's investigating death, Buzz's death.
He goes back to the cemetery, and she's back at her parents' grave.
And he finds himself standing in front of his parents' grave, but he's Batman. He's dressed as Batman.
Yes, that's
so
right.
So she sees him and puts two and two together.
Yeah, because he starts acting just kind of more towards how she remembered him when she saw Bruce Wayne at that grave. So she figures out the mystery. It's always that thing, who knows Batman's identity, who doesn't know Batman's identity.
So then Batman determines that all these mob bosses worked together and worked with Carl Beaumont, with Andrea's dad.
Yes.
And they're all coming up dead. Everybody that's part of this group, they're the ones that are being targeted.
And he has no idea about where Andrea's dad is at this point.
As far as he knows, he's running around Europe hiding.
He disappeared with his daughter. And now he just knows that, she's back.
Yeah, she's back, but
no idea about,
as far as he knows, he's still out in Europe somewhere.
Yeah. But there's another gangster, Salvatore, that he knows is connected with all of it too. He finds a photograph of them together,
including the somewhat familiar looking muscle.
This guy, Salvatore, decides
a very pointy
to go
nose.
visit a very famous foe.
Yes.
The Joker.
At the old World of Tomorrow.
Yes.
At the World's Fair, the Gotham World's Fair.
I'm glad he brought this up because we haven't really talked about that yet. Because it's obviously
the city of the future.
Obviously, the World's Fair. I think it does a good job of tying in a lot of the themes they have within the movie.
Yeah, because that was one of the places.
Great teacher, and then, but yeah, it's one.
It's one of the places that Bruce and Andrea went on a date, and it was back 10 years earlier during the flashbacks. It was this bright, shiny city of tomorrow, and in the present day, it's all worn down, decrepit, most likely condemned.
Yeah, no, totally, and they almost play it off like trying to maybe show that had things gone differently for Bruce and Andrea, things would go differently for Gotham.
Yeah.
Right? But it doesn't work out, and things go downhill. So now, instead of maybe Bruce being this light to Gotham, Batman has to be kind of the potential hope for Gotham.
Yeah.
So, because, obviously, the mob kind of wins out and everything tanks. It's kind of, a lot of ways, to reference a movie that we've done already. It's like the alternate 1985. Right?
Yeah, it is. It really
is. Back to the Future, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of bleak, and you got unsavory characters running everything. So yeah, it's, you got these seedy elements ruling things, and just not the way things should be, at least with Back to the Future. So you basically kind of think what happens to them kind of worked out. And, when you look at a lot of the ways that Thomas Wayne is portrayed, general, he's trying to be this light to the city, and he doesn't quite capture it. And then he's gunned down, and that's kind of the fulcrum point that sends Gotham into even deeper. But there's this chance now, we even kind of touched on it briefly, maybe Bruce does give up this idea of this avenging his parents, Andrea. And maybe the two of them together would be the force that should be the good, that is able to kind of do away with the city elements. But instead, that doesn't happen. The mob rule. But within that now, we have this character that was connected, has gained his own power, and causes even more chaos. And the Nolan Batman's played in this too. right? You had the mob, and then the Joker comes in.
And upsets
And
everything.
He upsets everything, right? And it's this entire idea that, like, Nolan Alfred makes this point to Bruce about how, you can't understand the Joker, right?
No. Joker just wants chaos.
And you see it within Phantasm, too.
Because, once again, we're dealing with Joker and Phantasm.
The mob, they just want to make a bunch of money.
Amazingly by Mark Hamill.
The mob just wants to make a bunch of money. Phantasm wants revenge, right? We can clearly see the Phantasm wants revenge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Over something. You don't know what it is yet.
You don't know what it is, but you know it has something to do with this group of mobsters.
The Joker, though, no. His motive is completely different. There really is no motive.
No, he just wants chaos. He just wants everybody to suffer. You know?
Right? Because,
he just wants to have fun.
Salvatore, he sees all these other mob guys dying. And because he understands, because as we find out, that character in the picture becomes Joker.
Yeah.
He
Bruce
goes to the
realizes that and draws a smiley face, draws a red happy face on him, and it's the Joker.
So,
before he became the Joker.
He goes to the Joker.
Because he knows...
Reeves, the corrupt councilman, right?
Arthur Reeves.
Won't help him.
Yeah.
So he goes to the Joker.
He goes to Joker because he knows the Joker is the only person who stands a chance of actually stopping Batman.
Yeah, because he knows him from the past, and he knows what he's capable of, because he's seen his handiwork, obviously. But does Joker help him? No.
Nope.
Right?
Joker gives him a dose of his Joker gas and
kills him.
Yeah, kills him. Leaves him as a trap for Batman.
But instead of Batman showing up, the Phantasm shows up. And of course, Joker's watching all this.
Yes, he has a camera in Sal's lap. And he sees that it's not Batman that's been killing people, but that it's this new character, it's the Phantasm.
The Joker, this is awesome. New character. Like, it's more fun for him.
Yeah.
Which is why it's perfect. Like, Joker needs to be in this. Like, he doesn't need to be the main, but his chaos is absolutely necessary for this.
Yes. And that's part of... So, Mark Hamill's portrayal of Joker has so many dimensions to it.
Yeah.
He can turn on a dime between the happy-go-lucky, just fun Joker, laughing, to serial killer Joker, just in an instant.
And his Joker really helped to set up a lot of how the Joker's been portrayed the last 25 years since then. The way Grant Morrison portrayed him, when he wrote Batman, to how Heath Ledger did it. And even, Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah, which I still think that, like, my dream casting for a live-action Joker, David Tennant. I think David Tennant would be
love David
absolute perfect live-action Joker.
He would be perfect.
Because he can do all that. He has the acting ability. He's got the chops to really give the Joker what Mark Hamill gave him.
He made Purple Man work.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and have you seen the movie Bad Samaritan?
No.
Where he plays a serial killer?
Oh
yeah, he's diabolical in that one. He's just pure evil in that movie.
It's funny you bring it up though. Like, I could.
But then he can also play the hero. He's the Doctor. He's the 10th Doctor.
Yeah.
And
I could almost see in a way if you flip this script somehow, like even like Michael Keaton.
Yeah, he could do it too. He is just unhinged enough to give an interesting Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be hard now because he played Batman.
Yeah.
But there was an unhingedness aspect.
He's got the eyebrows for it. Joker could definitely be an eyebrow character.
Anyway. I like that.
You could use a good eyebrow actor.
Especially if you're portraying it a little bit deeper into things, right? I like that. And it's fun. It's outside the box enough. When Heath Ledger got cast as Joker, I'm like, what?
Yeah, I know, right? But he was outstanding as the Joker. He got
his ass kicked by Jason Isaacs.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic.
Yes, he was. He blew everybody's perceptions of what they thought he would be as the Joker out of the water. It's just, he was phenomenal as the Joker. He completely deserving of his Oscar.
You don't get into the switching of the modes as you're talking about with Hamill's portrayal.
Yeah, the Ledger Joker was pretty much, he stuck to the one aspect of the Joker,
He's gone. He's
very,
totally
very well
in his psychosis at this point.
But Hamill, he plays all different sides of the Joker.
Yeah.
Which is something that I think Tennant could do.
Mm-hmm. But, there's different sides. Those are the things that kind of ended up being the things that ended up defining a lot of Batman for the next 10 to 15 years after that.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned Harley Quinn, obviously, because she's not in this. But that relationship, and then, there's so many characters within the world of this animated series.
Yeah. So, James Gunn, if you're listening to this, when you put Batman into the new DCU, consider David Tennant as the Joker, please. Anyway, so back to Mask of the Phantasm. We took a little detour, but we're back.
So Joker kills Celestra, right?
Yeah.
And then he's expecting Batman, but it's a Phantasm. And there's a bomb. He's planning the bomb because he thinks he's expecting Batman and he wants to go Batman.
But Phantasm jumps out the window before the bomb explodes. And so then we have the scene with Batman and Andrea.
Yeah, because she, the cops are in on all this, right? And they're trying to chase Batman because they think he's responsible for everything. And Andrea saves him.
Yeah, Andrea saves him, takes him back to her place,
and she drives off.
And they're talking, and she leads Batman to believe that Phantasm is her father, which would make a lot of sense because it's voiced by the same guy.
Yes,
they're both voiced by Stacy Keach.
And from Batman's point of view, okay, yeah,
it would make sense.
I haven't seen him. I thought he was near, but he doesn't have to be.
And, he had all these mob guys after him. So it would make sense. But then later on, Batman is doing some more investigating and he's back in Andrea's house or in her apartment and finds a locket with a picture of Bruce and Andrea in it. And he's in there and gets a message from the Joker saying that there's a bomb being sent airmail. And it's a remote control plane with a big bomb on it flying in toward the window and saying that you can't jump out of the window now, toots. And so Joker obviously knows that Phantasm is not Carl Beaumont, but it is, surprise, surprise, Andrea Beaumont.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is revealed that Joker, before he was the Joker, caught up with them in Europe.
Was a hitman.
Yeah, he was a hitman for the mob and found where they were staying in Europe and murdered Carl.
Yep.
Killed Andrea's dad. And so Andrea came back to Gotham years later to avenge her father's death.
And it's revealed to us the last piece of this. We understand that, Carl's dead. Andrea's back. Is that Reeves is the one that sold out Andrea and Carl.
Yes, we learned that. Yeah, we learned that Arthur Reeves, Ellis from Die Hard.
That's
is the one that
of course that is how Ellis would secure himself.
Yes, it is, and that's how Arthur Reeves became a congressman because he sold out the Beaumonts.
All right, this is how I'm going to get my campaign money. Sell them out. And he gets dosed with
some Joker gas.
Not a lethal dose.
Yeah, not a lethal dose
enough
of it,
to
but
make him just stay inside Arkham the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And I always thought that scene I just love the scene he's just laughing the entire time and just Batman's there.
Yeah. He's laughing, but he's still telling Batman everything that he wants to know, but he can't do it without laughing. And he's just laughing hysterically the whole time.
I think there's another aspect of why it works so well as an animated movie. You cannot make that work as well live action.
No, you can't. There's just some things that
just the visual of it, but then also just the sound of it. It's I don't know. I can't picture how you'd be able to do that in a live action.
Yeah, I mean, there's just certain things that have to be exaggerated to an
That's a good way to say it.
To an extent that you can't do it in live action. It has to be animated in order to exaggerate things the way that they need to be.
And they play it so well within the scene, how it's drawn, acted. Right? You got this Batman being Batman, and then this lunatic.
Yeah, it's just laughing in his face. And to a certain extent, Batman doesn't know what to do with the situation because he can't really lean on the guy for information because he's just hysterical. And
it takes him forever to say what he needs to say.
Yeah,
because he's hysterical, and it's just they pull off really well without a Coke.
Yes, without a Coke.
We will be doing Die Hard,
and also without a bullet to the face while drinking that Coke
or a Rolex.
Yeah,
and without Coke because there is 2 Cokes.
Yes,
that Ellis enjoys.
Yes. Yes, there are 2 Cokes that Ellis enjoys.
It was the 80s.
One he still has some on his nose, but
The other one exited out the back of his head, probably.
Yes, probably.
Because he was
not
swallowing it when I think.
Yeah, it may not have made it all the way down his throat. But yeah, we'll get to that movie. We'll get to Die Hard. That'll be
Die Hard will definitely get the treatment.
Yes. We'll get to Die Hard. That'll be closer to Christmas. But yeah. Anyway, so Batman is putting two and two together and realizes that Andrea is the Phantasm. And
which I really like that.
Yeah.
You know, like at that point, like, yeah, okay. So you have, in terms of like female rogues, right? Yeah, obviously, you know, there's Catwoman,
Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn.
You know, I really did it. Like, it's just like, you know, especially someone like, they did a good job of connecting you first with her, with Bruce.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, another. So for those that don't know, Harley Quinn is a creation of Batman the Animated Series. Her first appearance was in that show before she showed up in any comics.
Yep.
But anyway,
I mean, that's the whole thing with the animated series. Like, it really helped drive everything.
It was in the episode Joker's Favor.
Yeah.
That was Harley Quinn's first episode.
Like, even like Bane, okay, yeah. So like Bane was first in the comics, but then like we were able to bring him into the animated series and keep him established as this character within the world. And like, you know, I think when it comes into there's other like Ra's al Ghul, I think of the animated series and I think of Batman Begins.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, Grant Morrison gets into him too. But
animated series
is before Grant Morrison's run.
Yeah.
So
and animated series is the closest that Bane has ever come to the comics.
Oh yeah,
his portrayal in the comics.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't until Dark Knight Rises that Bane wasn't portrayed in live action as an imbecile.
Yeah.
The comics version of Bane, he was very intelligent. He was, you know, somebody who trained his body and his mind to be able to take on Batman.
Yeah.
Or really to be able to survive Peña Duro, the prison that he was born in. But when he got out of that, when he escaped the prison, then he learned about Batman and put all his efforts into defeating Batman.
Right.
But yeah, he's a character that from childhood spent every day training his body and mind to be at peak efficiency. And then, you know, he came across Venom, and not the Marvel Comics Venom, but Venom the substance, Venom the drug that amplified his strength. And, you know, like in Batman and Robin, he's some idiot that, you know, has Venom coursing through his veins, so he's really strong. I don't know why they did that, because the Bane character is so well done in the comics and so well done in the animated series that I don't know why Schumacher would change him like that.
Yeah, I mean, the other character, like Grant, like he technically predates the animated series, but they really bolstered him, was the Scarecrow. Yeah. Right? You know, he became a character within this animated series, and then he was featured in A Long Halloween, which is, what I think, 96 or 97 was that rule run.
Which then became one of the main influences for Batman Begins.
Right. Obviously, Scarecrow is not in Phantasm, but it should, like, they do, the entire series does a great job of pushing forward. Like, because you think about it, right? You know, we mentioned, like, it's 92 is when the series starts. So, like, 89 was the Tim Burton Batman, which, you know, we'll get into this when we do Tim Burton Batman. For what? A little over 10 years, right? You know, you had Superman 1977. There wasn't really, like, another, like...
Well, Superman was 78.
78, yeah, that's right.
Superman was 78.
So, but you had, like, what? 78, 89.
But yeah, so over 11 years.
11 years between Superman and Batman. You know, and obviously, when Superman became a big hit, like, I think, like, we need to make Batman a movie somehow as well. It took a long time to get there. And within that time, obviously, not having other Batman series, you know, you have certain successful runs in the comics, particularly with Frank Miller. Yeah. But you're not diving into these new characters yet, right? So it makes sense. Like, when the first Batman movie comes out, you have the Joker. And then 92, when that comes out, Batman Returns.
You have Penguin.
You have Penguin and you have Catwoman.
Mm-hmm.
Very well.
And don't forget Max Schreck.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken.
You know, and then even by the time you get to 95, like, they're already thinking, like, okay, Riddler, Two-Face. You know, but these are characters that are established well enough already.
And 97, you got Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
And Poison Ivy and Bane.
But then you have animated series doing their own thing. And then, like, again, with Phantasm, like, let's just do a whole new villain.
Yeah. I mean, the only traditional Batman villain in Phantasm is Joker.
Yeah.
The only one of Batman's regular rogues in that movie is Joker. But, talking about the different villains in the movies, in the various movies. So, of course, Batman and Robin had Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, who is, the animated series completely revamped Mr. Freeze's backstory.
Oh, yeah.
In the comics, up until that point, up until he was introduced in the animated series, up until the episode Heart of Ice. Fantastic episode. One of the best episodes of the series. But up until that episode, Mr. Freeze was just a run-of-the-mill, cold-themed villain.
Yeah.
But the animated series episode Heart of Ice, it gave him a backstory. It created the whole Mr. Freeze is avenging what happened to his wife. That his wife had a disease, so he cryogenically froze her until he could develop a cure. And then was fired. He worked for Wayne Enterprises, and his boss, not Bruce, but his immediate boss, fired him before he could come up with a cure for his wife. And so she's been stuck in this cryogenic freezing chamber, and he's just trying to save her.
Yeah.
His villainy stems from wanting to save his wife, and that was never around in the comics before the animated series.
It wasn't.
And ever since the animated series, that's been Mr. Freeze's backstory. He's been trying to save his wife, Nora. And that's a huge part of Batman and Robin.
It is, yeah.
Whether you like that movie or not.
Whether you like it or not. At least it's played into it, like you said. There's at least redeeming qualities of all of them.
Yes. As cheesy as some of them may be. Bat credit card, good through forever.
I honestly, we'll get it, we'll wrap up soon with the rest of Phantasm. Because we won't do Batman Forever, but I actually thought Val Kilmer was a good Bruce Wayne.
I did too.
I think he was better as Bruce Wayne than Batman. I thought he was a good Bruce Wayne. And it's funny, we're talking about how there's different love interest with Bruce Wayne, as opposed to Superman, where it's always Lois Lane. That's one of the funny things about the kind of, the Burton ones and the Schumacher ones, right?
Yeah.
And they're technically all the same universe, right?
Technically, although I've read some theories to where the Schumacher ones were actually movies within the Burton universe. So it's basically people learned about Batman in the Burton universe and then made Batman movies based off of him.
Okay.
And that's what the Schumacher ones are. But then also, there's evidence showing that the Schumacher ones are a continuation of the Burton ones. One of the main throughputs is the same actor playing Alfred.
Yeah. Right.
Kind of like Q in all the Bond movies.
We have
with Desmond Llewellyn playing Q in most of the Bond movies up until
Kim
he
Basinger,
died. Up until the
Kim
actor
Basinger was in the first Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And she was really good in that. She's a great part of it. And obviously she's not in Batman Returns. And we had the usual tense sexual chemistry between Batman and Catwoman. Michelle Pfeiffer, holy hell. We will have to do that. But she was...
Yeah. Oof, Michelle Pfeiffer was she played that role.
Performance.
Yes.
If you take three,
she was amazing as Catwoman.
The top three best performances in a kind of superhero comic book movie, she'd be one of the top three performances.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, she owned that role.
We'll definitely do Returns.
Yeah.
We'll get more into that.
Yeah, in case you guys haven't noticed, we're huge fans of Batman.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be doing a bunch of Batman movies.
And then forever, Val Kilmer, his love interest is Nicole Kidman. And nothing against Nicole Kidman, but, it's not as strong.
Yeah.
But just, again, it shows that you have varying love interest within Batman's world, right?
Yeah.
But Andrea, again, she works really well.
Yeah, she does. Dana Delaney plays her so well in here. I mean, in a way that she's only in this movie.
Yeah.
In the equivalent of 3 episodes of the series. She's only in this movie, and she leaves such a huge mark on Bruce, on the series.
And he believes she's absolutely part of the entire universe of the series.
Yeah. Hers and Bruce's interactions in the flashbacks and even in the present day parts of the movie, it really shows, it portrays a world where you could see Bruce struggling to uphold his promise to his parents. You can definitely see how she could be the reason that he would contemplate giving up on his mission to avenge their deaths. And it also shows that she plays it in a way that, she's in a similar situation to Bruce. I mean, sure, her dad wasn't killed when she was as young as Bruce was when his parents were killed. Her mom died when she was young. Her mom died when she was young, but her dad was murdered more or less in front of her, but she was an adult by then.
Yeah.
But it shows that they're kind of two sides of the same coin.
No, absolutely.
Whereas Bruce, Batman, won't let himself cross that line.
No, right. And, Alfred
he'll stride that line. He'll walk that line right up to the edge. Mm-hmm. But he will not step over that line. And she does. And Dan Delaney plays it in a way that it shows what would happen if Batman did cross the line.
It does. And I like how they play it with, especially like her and like Joker, right? Because they go back to the world tomorrow, right? It's where the climax of it is. And, obviously, Joker is also responsible for everything. In certain Batmans, Joker is also responsible for Bruce's situation, right?
Yeah.
But within this universe, no, he's not. And the Joker is something that's really unhinged and chaotic.
Yeah, which
actually almost be even easier for just, in some ways for Batman just dispatch Joker because of the chaos. Say, like, this needs to stop.
Yeah, which is interesting because Batman the Animated Series takes so much from the Burton Batman.
Oh, yeah. No, totally.
Takes so much from the Burton Batman, but it does not take that. It doesn't take that, spoiler alert for the 89 Batman, it doesn't take that Joker is the one that killed Bruce's parents.
Right.
It changes that. Really, that's really only in that movie that Joker is the one that killed them. But yeah, it with as much as it borrows from the Burton Batman.
No, the entire gothic feel of it.
It doesn't. It doesn't take that. It has it being just some random street thug that kills Bruce's parents. That it's never revealed in the animated series, but in the comics, it's eventually revealed to be Joe Chill.
Which Joe Chill's in the Nolan movies, but again, he's just like you said, random street thug. That's more of a victim of circumstance.
Yeah,
and you could portray it in certain ways, and in some ways, Batman would be far more willing to put an end to, by the time you get to that point in the Nolan movies, Bruce is in much more control of himself to be able to say, I'm not going to kill this chaotic agent, right?
Yeah.
Early in the movie, when they want him to kill, we're not going to go too deep into it, in his training, they kill but he's just kind of a petty thief, right?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to this
agent, man should stand trial. He should not be murdered.
Yeah. As opposed to Joker by that time, he's this agent of chaos and has killed multiple people.
Yeah. And, it even goes back to Mask of the Phantasm, where Andrea tracks Joker to his hideout, which is in the City of Tomorrow section of the World's Fair. And so they have their little scuffle. The way
they do this also, I think it can only be done within an animated movie.
Yes. Yeah. She has her smoke and he has his acid flower. He sprays acid at her, gets on her knife glove, and forces her to drop her main weapon before the acid eats through to her hand. And, they get in a fight and Batman comes in and Batman and Joker fight. I thought it was a very nice touch that Batman knocked out one of Joker's teeth. Yeah. And then, so for the rest of the movie, Joker was missing a tooth. Yeah, so at the end of their fight, though, Joker, it's revealed that Joker's rigged the entire place to blow up.
Yep.
And so he figures it's the best way to kill everybody. So Batman trying to rescue the Joker because Batman refuses to kill. Andrea grabs the Joker, and as everything starts blowing up, clouds the two of them in smoke and doesn't let Batman near them. So, Batman escapes into the spillway. It's washed out to the river, but it's implied that Andrea died there with Joker.
Right. No, that's heavily what they were. You kind of wonder, oh, wow, how Batman was able to get down the sewer deep enough not to be completely consumed by fire from the explosions.
Yeah, Andrea and Joker are, completely engulfed in smoke and then they disappear. So It's, hinted that they might have survived. But from Batman's point of view, it looks like they died in the explosion.
Right. And
And that's where, Batman wasn't willing to kill the Joker, as evil as he is, but Andrea didn't hesitate. And it's though it's never revealed in the movie what ultimately happened to Joker, he wasn't killed because he shows up later in the series.
Yeah.
He shows up several times later in the animated series. And with this being an official part of the animated series, he definitely survived. And, the scene after that in the Batcave with Batman and Alfred in there, again, showing how well Alfred is portrayed in the show.
Yeah, no, I think it's so fantastic.
He's there. He's comforting Bruce because he just lost the love of his life.
Lost the love of his life. And he realizes in several ways he's thinking about, what could have been 10 years ago. And now
what actually happened and how
happened. Like
the difference,
this potential of maybe something else could be different if they could get beyond this circumstance that was happening.
Yeah, but at the same time, Batman can't bring himself to get past that circumstance.
But he can't get past that. Like, even if
he does
she was able to walk away and they were to bring Joker back to Arkham.
Yeah. But Batman...
I think he knows it within himself that he's gone too deep within who he is.
Yeah. That he can't condone what she did.
At that point, he also sees that she's also too deep where she is. So that's that further reminder of that. And then there's just even this further blame, though, that I think even he knows that there's no way they could be together, that he's thinking she's dead. That he couldn't have saved her enough to bring her back a little bit to where she could have just walked away like that from that circumstance.
Yeah.
But she was too deep within to where she was.
Yeah. But then in the middle of this morning, he sees a glimmer in the distance in the Batcave and goes up to it.
Very well done.
And it's the locket that she had with the picture of the two of them in it. And he didn't put it there. Alfred didn't put it there. So that gives him confirmation that she survived the explosion, because she's the only one that could have put it there. And, we get, as viewers, we get further confirmation that she survived, because then there's a boat and a guy walks out of the party on the boat wearing one of those paper crowns and sees a woman standing over by the rail, looking overboard, looking off in the horizon. And he walks up to her, and it turns out it's Andrea. We know that she survived, but there's still no mention of Joker, of what happened to him. So,
again, obviously, if you keep watching the series, he survived.
Yeah.
But if you completely just book into this, and
if this is all you watch of the series,
you'd be like, it would still be a really good ending, because what happened?
Yeah.
It's a cliffhanger type ending that's not a nuisance. Something that's just why are you leaving me hanging like that? But no, it's no, it just leads you to speculate what happened. No, okay, he survived or not survived. What actually happened? It's wraps up well enough that allows it. Yeah, even if the viewer didn't have that exact answer, I think everything would have been wrapped nicely enough to be like, okay, I'm okay not knowing everything. And, because it is part of a series, you do get fuller answers on all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's the ending we get to the movie. It's
it doesn't end with Batman. Batman, so he just kind of has this hope, who's like, okay. It's, and again, it's funny because a lot of the Batman movies you get, there's this greater threat to all of Gotham, right?
Yeah.
This one's just so much more deeply personal.
Yeah. And again, this is a movie that was made as part of a children's cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me think in a way, and it's funny, and who knows what they were then? I don't know. But, it's dark. And you should think of, think about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? The comics themselves are kind of dark.
Oh, yeah. Very.
Then they made this nice, fun TV series out of them. And then they made a live-action movie. And the first live-action movie is really dark.
Yes. It followed the comics. Not so much the TV show, but it followed the comics.
But
the second and third movies follow the show more. But the first one,
the main villain gets dropped into a garbage truck and crushed.
Yes.
Not to mention there's kidnappings and
kidnappings, children forced to work for the bad guys.
There's themes of child slavery, which is also in Temple of Doom.
Yes, which is another movie we'll get to.
But it's portrayed a lot differently in Temple of Doom than this.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
But like, I guess it's the movie I can kind of think of in a way that's kind of coming off an animated series and it's really dark.
Yes. Although, really, I mean, yeah, Mask of the Phantasm is a little bit darker than the majority of the show, but it doesn't take it overboard.
No, it doesn't.
It fits completely with the themes of the show.
Yeah.
And it fits completely with the feel of the show. But I mean, they can get away with it being a little bit darker because it's a movie.
Yeah.
But still, as dark as it gets, it's not too much for a kid to handle.
No, not at all.
And it's one of those things that when you watch it as an adult, you pick up on things you didn't catch when you were a kid. And you can appreciate it that much more.
Yeah. It's funny, actually, I was trying to think, when's the last time I watched it? I can't remember the last time I actually watched it. It was a lot of fun to watch it.
I watched it maybe a month and a half or so ago, and then I watched it again today for the podcast. But before that, it had been a couple of years since I'd watched it. It had been probably 3 or 4 years.
Again, like we said, it's
and
not long.
Before that, it was probably 5 or 6 years.
What? Like you said, 78 minutes, but really it's probably more like 74 minutes.
Yeah. Well, 77 minutes total, and then but there's about 3 or 4 minutes of credits there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're barely over an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah. Like that's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an easy thing to just get through pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, it's an easy watch. It's a quick, easy watch, but it is such
and the pacing. It's like there's nothing. There's no dead time. They pace it well enough.
Yeah. And it's just so engaging.
Yeah. No, they cut it all together, especially because there is a lot of cuts back and forth between time periods.
Yeah. Now, did you watch it with Charles?
I did not.
I
want to get a little bit deeper into the series first before we get into it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because he's seen about 8 episodes.
Okay.
It's funny. So trying to get through that, and Clone Wars also.
Yeah.
So it's catching up on Mandalorian also, because I haven't seen anything yet season 3.
Oh, it's good so far.
I was hoping to get them caught up on get up to season 3 before it came out, but it didn't happen.
Well, it's not going anywhere, so
yeah,
you'll be able to catch up on it. I can
avoid spoilers enough easily.
Yeah.
But we're in the middle of season 2, and we just watched the Passenger, so we're early on.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So you're on. That was episode 2.
Yeah, of
season 3 or of season 2.
I know, it's kind of filler. I think it's really fun because you get the New Republic fighters, and you get a classic Star Wars planet with scary creatures. It's not as good as the premiere.
No,
where they're all fighting a crate dragon.
Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. But yeah.
Anyway,
not to spoil Mandalorian for people, but if you're a fan of Star Wars, watch The Mandalorian. Even if you're not a fan of Star Wars, watch The Mandalorian. Just watch it will make you a fan of Star Wars.
Timothy Olyphant. Oh my! I was thinking about him again, and I was he's just so good.
Yeah, he's great.
And I was thinking, oh yeah, I wanted to just kick him in the balls and put it free and die hard.
Yeah. Yep.
And you love him in Mandalorian.
But
that's Mask of the Phantasm. And,
yes, that's
if you can't tell, once we get into Batman and Star Wars, we'll start geeking out on a lot of different things.
Yes. So that's Mask of the Phantasm, folks.
Which, interesting enough, it's funny, The Killing Joke actually got re-released in the theaters for a few weeks. Several years after it came out, right? So it was one of the, he was they never did an actual animated Batman movie that was released to theaters before Mask of the Phantasm.
No, they didn't.
And then, the short re-release of Killing Joke,
which again was Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill both returning to the roles,
which is even darker.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Killing Joke, the animated movie, of course, based off of the comic. Yeah, very dark story.
And
Very good story, but very dark story. Which is probably the most of a Joker origin story that you're ever really gonna officially get from the comics.
Yeah, I even like Snyder's run, which is just fantastic.
Yes, Scott Snyder, not Zack Snyder. Scott Snyder's run.
Yeah, if you're listening, I don't know if any of you read the comics. They have no idea where you are within any of that, but highly recommend both Grant Morrison and Scott Snyder if you want to read stuff of Batman in the last 20 years. Both of them fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
The other person I would actually recommend, I would think that would have been around the time of the animated series, is Doug Munch.
Yes.
Munch. His aesthetic is very similar to what you see in the animated series. And it's around the same time period. His is almost even more grotesque in the way things are portrayed. But he gets deeper into a lot of the side characters, not just the rogues.
Yeah.
Which you see within this whole, you don't get all of it within Mask of the Phantasm. But especially characters like Bullock and Gordon, he dives deeper into them in his run. So yeah, if you've never read any of the comics, those would be three I would recommend to look at. Obviously, Frank Miller has this stuff too, especially Year One and Dark Knight Returns.
Yes, and also if you want a good series about the Gotham Police, there's a series just called GCPD that follows the Gotham PD. Batman is very much a side character, more really just mentioned in it. He may make one or two appearances in it, but it's really about the GCPD and their everyday operations. Another great one that has a little bit more Batman in it than GCPD, but is still heavily in GCPD, that realm, is Gordon of Gotham. Yeah. Where it follows Commissioner Gordon. But excellent comic series.
Yeah, there's a lot of good that's out there. If you've never read any of the Batman comics. And I'm only saying that because the series and the movie definitely take heavily off of it. Yeah. So it's worth getting into. And and again, I should say Frank Miller, especially Year One, he's one of the persons who really gets into Gordon.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Year One is just as much Gordon's story as it is Batman's.
Yeah. Which is, that's the series is prior to the animated series. But I mean, if you look at the Burton universe, Gordon is very minor compared to what you see with that. And then when you see the Nolan movies, Gary Oldman, holy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Gary Oldman was outstanding as Commissioner Gordon.
Usually the craziest dude alive, and he's just completely normal policeman.
Mm-hmm. Such a good actor.
Anyway, but, Gordon's a little bit more minor in the movie in Phantasm, but he's a heavy part of TV series. If you haven't seen the TV series,
the TV series really plays into Gordon and Batman's relationship.
And again, it gets back into the detective aspect of it.
Yeah.
But that's anyway, sorry. We keep going. We keep going.
Yeah, we keep going.
We could go on about Batman.
We could go on for forever on this. Like you said before, we're both huge Batman fans, and we could talk forever about Batman. But
I mean, if we want to, you can go on about the Adam West TV series.
Yes, but podcast episodes need to end sometime. So we will be talking plenty more about Batman in future episodes, the various Batman movies and different portrayals of Batman, and I'm sure we'll even throw in some more comic stuff. And anyway, that is Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. And next time we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to watch a movie that neither one of us has seen before. It's going to be something brand new to both of us, but we have been hearing great things about it. We're going to be watching Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That was appropriate, right? It gets into the multiverse itself.
Yeah, it does.
And we're talking about multiverses within Batman.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very fitting. Yeah, I didn't think about that earlier either. But yeah, so it's very fitting. So that's what we'll do. So you'll get our initial reactions to it after both of our first viewings of it. So yeah, tune in next time for Everything Everywhere All at Once. So we will see you then.
Bye.